Yeah.
Boom. Started. All right. So, next episode of Tao Talk with Phalanx on consciousness and Buddhism. I don't think you intended those necessarily to go together, but just that you enjoy
The
both of those topics, and we could talk about either, though I'm sure both of them cross over a little bit, huh?
Yeah, a little bit overlap, but yeah, we can
Yeah.
definitely talk about them as separate things.
Mm. Do you want to introduce yourself in any way, or is Phalanx good with you and moving forward, or?
Uh, Phalanx is my alias. I'm a student, was a student, done with my philosophy degree, did a bit of biotech and computer science. Yeah, here I
Awesome.
am. No.
Excellent. All right, so on the topic of consciousness and Buddhism, do you want to start with consciousness, or where do you want to start?
Yeah, let's start with consciousness, much broader.
All right. So you know my
So,
I think I told you my format. Like I'm not here to debate you, man. I'm not here to tell you you're right or wrong, nothing like that. You tell me what is interesting and where you are with consciousness, or honestly, do what you want. This can go any way you want it to go. So, all right,
all right.
take it.
So let's start with the thought of the intractable, hard problem of consciousness. I think that's a good place to begin the conversation. So we have these two seemingly different substances called mind and matter, and we can't seem to get the one from the other. Seems like an intractable problem. And I just find that very interesting, and that's why I'm attracted to consciousness. What about you?
Well, yeah, I'd say I'm probably in the camp of a non-dualist. Like you can't separate the two. Um,
Um,
and I'm okay with that. Like it is interesting. It's interesting to
yeah.
talk about that for what this conundrum is between this mind. But yeah, I don't know. For me, it's like it just my mind today just goes physical. It's physical
Mm,
properties. It's executing upon itself. I'm not trying to do anything or not trying to do. I'm just doing things based on the things
yeah.
prior that allow me to do my next thing. So it's really what it boils down to for me. So, but
So
yeah,
I think this is some very tricky territory to navigate because like saying it's physical is a very loaded word because
mm,
people can mean many different things by
mm,
physical.
true.
So on the one hand, you say you lean towards non-dualist thought that there's no two different substances, but you're labeling both substances as physical. But I'm sure there's plenty of people out there who wouldn't be comfortable labeling mental properties as physical. Do you know
Mm,
what I mean?
mm,
And to some, it just means material. To some, it means information. Like it's a very broad category.
mm, mm. There is a. I wish I had a mind like a steel trap, but I don't. Unfortunately, it's full of rusty holes. There's a
Mm,
there's a philosophical notion that is non-dualism, but it's the step beyond that. That even though things are physical, there are still parts to that physicality that break down into subcomponent. You can categorize. Basically, it's like calculus of magnitudes of the difference between one thing or another. That still has to
yeah.
be relative in some way, shape, form, or another. I don't remember the philosophical name for that particular for those notions, but that's where I am. Like, it's physical only because it's bound by the physical laws of the universe,
Okay.
right? Everything we know of so far, the way
It's
we
physical.
understand that we understand the physical laws of the universe obeys and is bound by the physical laws of the universe. So
Yeah.
that's what I mean when I say non-dualism, when I say neutral monism. Neutral monism breaks down quickly for me because then we got to start looking at the details of things, and that just doesn't make sense in a
Mm,
monism. That this is only one
mm.
thing. It seems like lots of things.
Yeah. How is it being broken
Yeah,
down into lots of
yeah.
things if it's one thing?
But it's also never one or two things. Like people have this tendency to dualize things, to look at things, but then start to lose the fact that depending on where you change your gauge, you're now starting to look at new things within that spectrum. This is what Bruce Lee
Yeah.
spoke of as the void, right? It's that stuff between this and that, and everything else emerges from it. So,
Yeah.
anyways, I don't want to make this about me. I appreciate the questions. That this is more about where you are in these realms.
Yeah.
So
So I also came towards or lean towards non-dualist thought, which bleeds into the Buddhism part, right?
mhm,
The So I think the most potent concept in Buddhism is shunyata.
mm,
It's the emptiness,
mm,
but it's sort of like a mistranslation because emptiness sort of sounds nihilistic, but that's not what was intended.
mm, mm,
So the full meaning of emptiness is empty of inherent independent existence.
mm.
It means things don't exist independent by themselves.
Of
They
anything,
always
yeah.
rely they always rely on causes and conditions.
Mm, mhm,
So in the simplest case of the seeming dichotomy between mind and matter, emptiness would say that mind relies on the existence of matter and matter relies on the existence of mind,
mm,
which kinds of pushes me towards consciousness being somewhat fundamental in
mm,
my
mm,
perspective.
mm, mm. Yeah. Hmm. Interesting. So, in what way? Like, are rocks conscious? This is always the question
So
I get. This is the big
yeah,
question I get. Are rocks conscious? Oh, rocks must be conscious. No, but yeah. Go ahead.
so in the minimalist possible sense of what consciousness is, which is just like presence. It
Mm,
has presence. It has space-time coordinates. It exists in relation to things.
agreed.
So
Yeah.
in my mind, that is like the minimalist sense of perspective or
Yeah.
presence or consciousness.
Mm, mm,
It's
mm,
just existing within relation in space-time to other things. So that's how I would also say it's a physical property.
mm,
It is related to space-time.
mm, mm. Well, so then we're talking about properties of consciousness or conscious awareness, right? Um, you could maybe think of a rock over a long
Yeah,
period of time that could be a different life cycle as a human, for instance, as just memory. It's just memory of that thing existing, and over time, it doesn't
that
mean it's
place.
yeah, it doesn't exist in the same place. It doesn't, it might change its shape, and it's different memory. So
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I'm with you. As far as consciousness potentially being fundamental, like maybe the universe itself is conscious, and you know, I'm totally with you on that. Like, I would argue that all day, and I don't care if people call me stupid for saying rocks are conscious. I just think I think Tolkien really outlined it well with his understanding. Like, if you change the life cycle of a creature, it changes their behaviors. You may not even recognize it, but he illustrated it
Mm,
by like the Ents, where they lived really long lives, but they were never really urgent to do anything, right? Because they had so
yeah.
much time to do life.
Oh, man.
So yeah, you think it at those magnitudes. Sure, absolutely, but yeah, I'm with you on that. I don't buy into it
Mm,
personally. Like, that's a thing that's a possibility. It's not a thing that's a definite thing that we've proven it. Like,
yeah.
if all right, so another kind of notional that comes along with our consciousness is the ability to sort of communicate with things beyond our own self-awareness, right? We don't
Sure.
really have a way to communicate to the human superorganism. We
No,
don't
who
we
does?
don't really have a way
If it
to
exists.
yeah, so that's the evidence that I'm looking for. I'm like, there has to
Yeah.
be some form of confirmation in order for me to say, okay, it's there. Um, Evidentiarily, sure. I'll fight with people over mathematics and the probabilities and all that stuff all day long. Um,
So let's just go on a bit of a tangent here with the whole consciousness being fundamental. So a lot of people like to bring in quantum mechanics and the observer effect,
mm,
and that
mm,
being an avenue to say consciousness is fundamental. But like, I don't think that's even necessary because just the thought that for something to exist, you need it to be verified to exist. It's like you can't say something exists with nothing being able to verify its existence. Then it's just
mm,
a
mm,
hypothetical.
Mm, mm,
So in my sense, observation is like the confirmation of existence itself. It's like
mm,
a necessary ontological component for existence. You
mm,
need something observed and you need it to be observed.
mm, 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 mm. Interesting. I, the way I understand it is, and being involved in certain communities, the way I see people represented is that it's basically just a metaphor. It's like it's an example of what could happen mathematically, but likely these particles or matter or whatever that requires observance is already set
Mm,
in its state. So you already know the other state of the entanglement or whatever the other object is by looking
yeah.
at it, but it was already set there, whatever means that is. But again, I think that's in an area where we have no direct evidence of that. So you could still question it and say it might require an observer. And then it gets into the details of like what's the observer? Like,
Yeah. It's
yeah,
interaction, right?
yeah,
It's like
yeah.
it's measurement.
Observation could be a cascading effect where something has been observed. Therefore, if something else is within its observational hierarchy, it has to also be observed, and it could be a cascading
Yeah.
effect. So, yeah,
So
we really
have you
don't
heard of
know.
Wigner's friend's thought experiment? That's
No,
pretty much about
no, go
this
ahead.
cascading of
Mm,
observers.
mm,
Well, it's quite a bigger thought experiment, but it's basically you have a lab with someone watching some particle in superposition,
mm,
but then you have someone watching that person watching the lab, and this is Wigner's friend, and that person is now in a superposition. But
mm,
now you have a person watching that person, and it's just an infinite regression of superpositions.
mm.
So where does the observation happen for collapse to take place?
Right.
That's Wigner's friend's problem.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'll be right back. Yeah, it's a very interesting thought experiment that
Hmm. Hmm.
emphasizes we're not sure what causes collapse or where it occurs.
Mm, mm. Interesting. So, oh well, did you want to go anywhere else with that?
No, no.
No. You said you graduated philosophy major?
Yeah,
Yeah.
philosophy.
Any particular specialties or
Nah, just philosophy.
mm,
PPE.
PPE? Interesting.
Mm,
Um, well, all right. So where did we start on consciousness? We started off with the hard problem of consciousness.
Yeah.
Did we wrap back around to that?
I don't think we solved the hard problem, no.
We didn't solve the hard problem. No.
No,
Yeah.
no.
Yeah. I don't think it's a hard problem.
You
I think,
don't?
yeah, no, I don't. The problem of which I guess Chalmers is known best for popularizing
Mm,
the hard problem. How do I break this down? All right. First of all, define what consciousness is.
mm. Would you like me to answer or
Sure. Tell me what consciousness is.
say it's a qualitative perception? It's like it's a continuous spectrum of perceptions. It's not discrete. There's like, okay, so thoughts can be discrete, concepts can be discrete, but feelings and emotions and perceptions are continuous. They exist on like a spectrum. So it's like a point on this qualitative spectrum is a conscious experience.
Point on the qualitative spectrum. Hmm. Yeah, okay, sure. Is that
Yeah.
like does that define consciousness in totality?
Not in totality, it defines
Right. Okay.
conscious, like spotlight consciousness or
Mm,
awareness,
mm.
right?
So a
Like things that
feature of
come
yeah,
into,
a feature of consciousness, or maybe a few select features
yes.
of consciousness, right?
Yeah,
All right. So
yeah, I'd say the most like prominent feature is like the things that rise up in conscious awareness. But I'm sure there's subconscious conscious processing also.
do you think self-awareness maybe might be a might be
I would
a
say that's another component. Like you can have a consciousness without self-consciousness,
Hmm.
I would say. So it's not necessary, but it is possible as a component.
And what so all right. So now we have a continuity.
Yeah.
I don't know. You said a fixed point, but then a continuity of that. I'm not sure. I guess that's just the
So
identity.
okay,
It's like that's the focal point, right? Yeah.
yeah. So let me
Yeah.
like the continuity would be the spectrum of colors, but the fixed point would be a specific color, like
Right.
redness in the whole spectrum of colors.
Right. Interesting. I yeah. Okay. So then we have that. Then we have self-awareness.
Yeah.
Are there other properties we could think about of consciousness?
Mm, it's qualitative. It's arises in awareness.
Qualia, right?
It,
Okay. Qualia.
yeah. Yeah.
I think qualia is one of the big hanging points in Chalmers' argument. Is that
Uh,
basically, and it boils down to solipsism, in my opinion, because nobody can experience what somebody else is experiencing. So we can't guarantee that I'm seeing the same color blue that you're seeing, or or that
yeah.
you know that
So I'm
that's
I'm
the
not sure about,
yeah.
is it true, necessarily true, that we can't experience what something else is experienced? Like would augmenting our neuronal structure, could it not be possible to expand our capacity to experience?
It's not that we can't or that we don't or that it's that we have no way to prove it.
Okay, yeah, that's a fair point. Yes.
Right. We
Okay,
have no way to justify it. Put it that way. Right.
sure.
We can. Well, all right. Even justify is the wrong word. We have no way to prove it irrefutably, that when you
Mm,
and I see blue, even though we identify them the same way, that that's the same way that they look. That when I feel pain, that whatever pain I'm feeling, if you say you feel pain, that your pain and my pain are the same, even if they're in the same spot. I mean,
mm,
something that could be absolutely miserable to you could be sensational to me. It could give me the adrenaline rush of my life. I mean,
yeah.
this is the qualia of which is based on Chalmers' hard problem.
Mm,
And I don't. I think that's just as simple as solipsism. I think it's just as simple as we can't experience what somebody else experiences. All we can do is get a sensation of what the external is feeding us and telling us,
mm,
and what's consistent in that. That's the object permanence stuff coming in, saying I know this now to be consistent. Our this is this other thing you were talking about, this persistence of identity over time. What did you say? It's it's a point, but it's also what did you say?
spectrum.
Yeah,
It's a
well,
point on a spectrum.
sure, or a spectrum or a vector space, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, um, shit. What the hell was I just thinking? Oh, object permanence. It's the same
Yeah.
thing, right? Object permanence is not a thing that is static in space. It's understanding that whatever that thing is, it has properties and they're consistent over periods of time where I can reliably say it's going to be there, including myself. I have object permanence over myself,
Mm.
right?
I'm failing to see the connection though between the hard problem and solipsism, to be honest.
Oh, well, just the fact qualia is just one portion of that, right? You can't
Okay, okay.
experience what I experienced, so qualia would be the
Okay.
solipsism in it, saying you can't prove that fundamentally to anybody. Um,
I see, I see.
and
So like
honestly,
solipsism,
oh, sorry, go ahead.
the solipsism is saying you can't get out of your own experience to prove that there's things that exist outside of your experience.
Right,
And the qualia is saying you can't experience other people's qualia.
it's a portion of solipsism, right? It's
Yeah,
kind of
yeah.
it's a solipsistic perspective of senses and such, that you can't replicate, you can't necessarily understand what somebody else is experiencing.
Mm,
Um, and honestly, here's the really funny part. A friend and well, I don't want to deviate, but just real quick. A friend and I were talking about this the other day, and it's interesting how have you ever heard of like syndromes like Alice in Wonderland syndrome or Dragon Face syndrome. I forget what the actual
No.
medical. Well, Alice in Wonderland syndrome is notoriously after traumatic brain injury, but it's where people see things larger than they actually are or smaller than they actually are. We know this is a thing
Okay.
of traumatic brain injury, but we also know this is something that happens congenitally. It's developmental
Mm.
also. Some people can go through their entire lives with this thing just experiencing a different reality than most other people that they experience. And this can be a portion of society, and these are various traits, like the one where you see dragon faces. You just might think that shit's normal.
Yeah, that's
Um,
pretty wild. I
so,
think evolution kind of entails that we're going to have a variety of experiences, right?
yeah,
It's
yeah,
gonna, it has to feel out different possibilities of like how to survive, and
yeah.
that requires a variety of experiences.
There's a consistency there, definitely. I think, yeah.
Mm. There's plenty of like thresholds where some humans will experience something and some humans won't. Like lights flashing, it'll flash for some humans, but it
Mm-hmm,
won't flash for others.
mm-hmm,
Or auditory things, some people can hear things, some people can't.
mm-hmm. Yeah. I
So we
mean,
definitely do experience different realities.
schizophrenia, yeah, schizophrenia, real severe schizophrenics see just a completely altered reality than what most people see. So yeah,
Yep.
um, yeah, and that's just these evolved detection systems going haywire. That's all that is, right? Um,
Yeah.
so what is reality?
I don't think any human knows.
Yeah,
Any
yeah,
human will ever see.
yeah, yeah. Interesting. So, anyways, back to the hard problem of consciousness then. So, why it's not a hard problem is because we already know this. Like, these are things that we know that we have these independent senses of reality. And I don't want to venture into the spectrum of realism, anti realism, all that stuff. We'll just call it
Mm,
reality, whatever it is. We interact
mm,
with each other and we accept these things. So yeah, that hard problem is kind of a moot point until we figure out a way to get around it.
mm,
And you can refute that with many things like the ship of Theseus I was talking about with somebody earlier today. It's like, okay, so if we can manage to replicate somebody else's conscious awareness, is it the same
mm.
one? Or is it just a copy experiencing something similar from that point forward? Or, who knows?
Yeah.
Like, this is where I get agnostic about things. I'm like, I don't give a fuck because answering this question at this moment doesn't really make a difference.
Yep.
It's fun to talk about, though. Um,
Yeah, I'm pretty sure like 80% of philosophy is just mental masturbation, to be honest.
well, I guess that's where I was going before about the philosophy major, because I still know some very hardcore philosopherists type,
Yeah.
sophists, whatever you might want to call them, thinking that they can solve everything through philosophy without things like math and science and. Um,
Yeah, philosophy is just like trying on different lenses of how to see the world, you know.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. I like that. Yeah, different
Mm,
viewpoints. Yeah. I don't think a lot of people look at it that way. Many people find their
mm.
philosophy
Yes,
like
becomes a
the
personal
objectivists,
brand.
the Randians.
Uh, yeah, I wasn't very familiar with Ayn Rand until a few years ago, until the Peterson up uprise.
mm, 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 mm. I don't know. What does it strike you as? It strikes me as people who've lost sense of reality.
I think reality is kind of fragmented at the moment
Mm,
because reality to humans is built on consensus. But
mm,
now we have all these little bubbles of consensus. Everyone can find a little echo chamber
mm,
and get into their old consensus reality. And
mm,
yeah,
Interesting.
they just don't jive together.
Mm. Well, I keep deviating. But we're back to the hard problem of consciousness. Yeah, we haven't solved it yet, but again,
Not
I
yet.
think I think we have lots of hard sciences that explain a lot of this. We're really deep in neurobiology right now.
Mm.
Neurobiology is very advanced. I mean, we're doing crazy things that your average person probably knows nothing about. Like optogenetics is one of my favorite ones to mention if you don't know what it is, or some of the things that we're doing with transcranial magnetic stimulation and brain function. Um,
Yeah.
all the stuff that we've collected over time about various areas of the brain that either congenitally damaged or get damaged through traumatic brain injury and how that changes behavior. Um, all this,
So
as we were talking about earlier today, collective knowledge is like this. These are the components. We are there. We're there, the components of consciousness. We've just reached an unprecedented level of anything else we've experienced in the cosmos so far, which I think we will experience it if we continue. Some other
yeah.
conscious awareness in the universe, you know. Um,
So coming back to the advances we made in neuroscience, I think someone pushing back on you might say all we've done is discovered the correlates of consciousness and no
mm,
causes. So
mm.
what would you say to that? Like we still haven't discovered any causes of consciousness. We've just been discovering correlates.
Yeah, I'd go back to define consciousness for me. And if you can do it simply, then we have a thing to be refuted. Otherwise, we still have a thing we're trying to define.
Mm.
So how do you prove it or disprove it if we're still trying to define it?
Yeah. Yeah. I think a lot of disagreements are caused by talking about different things using the same words.
Yeah. For me, it's just simple to say it's part of the physical properties of whatever we've attained as a biological evolutionary species on this planet. That's, other species I think have developed conscious awareness. I think
Mm.
that's pretty obvious.
Yep.
Maybe not to the complexity and level we are. Um, so yeah,
Yeah.
here. Well, all right. Do you have anything else? Because I could take this another direction.
Nah, go for it. I'm
Well,
curious.
so some of my favorite areas are cosmology. watching or astrophysics or just space exploration, things like that, right? And I was telling Casey not too long ago that some of my favorite stuff in the news recently is the discovery of the basic components that basic allow life to occur, abiogenesis essentially
Uh,
from that
like
point on.
amino acids
Yeah,
in
sure,
space.
amino acids,
Mm.
glutamine, all these different. I'm not a scientist, I can't name them off for you, but you know,
Yeah.
nucleotides. These things are basically like we've discovered several years ago. We discovered one of them being like manufactured in a nebula, and then we've proven that these things assemble, like self-assemble in microgravity collisions of just space dust. So like
Mm.
the universe is just manufacturing the components to make and support life, essentially.
Yeah.
So we just need some form of external proof. Will most of it maybe be simple life forms? Probably. Will
Probably.
there be complex life? Probably.
Hopefully.
So yeah, yeah. And that goes into like I don't know if you know Robin Hanson and his grabby aliens, but I really love their representation of that whole thing.
That
Um,
sounds familiar. It's like their solution to the Fermi paradox or something. It's like
yeah,
the earlier you are, the more likely you are to be grabbed up, something like, along those lines.
well, it's basically given a few basic assumptions. It's levels of complexity that life achieves as steps, right? They step out logically what like take some assumptions like the properties and all these things are available. What's the first hard step to get to the first step of life? What's the second
Mm.
step? How complex, and they do mathematical calculations on that, and then they apply that to the universe, and they say, here's how many complex life forms will emerge probability wise out in the universe,
Mm.
right? And then past that, beyond the fact that it's like more than we can count, uh, it's not only that, but then it's a race. It's a race to which one of those or which of those dominate the universe. Just start to expand and
I
consume
see.
and spread like a disease, like a virus. And basically, one of the last things he says is if you notice if we, for instance, today were to notice some other civilization modifying space in other places, it's already too late for us. They're already so advanced that it doesn't even matter if it's a million years or whatever. We're doomed when
Yeah.
they get to us. We're doomed to whatever they decide to do with us. Put it that way.
But it's looking like we are the early comers, right? Maybe we'll set the
Maybe,
tempo for this.
sure. That's
Maybe.
one. That's one of the hopes. That's one of the
Yeah.
hopes. Although we're also pointing out a lot of places where we're very wrong in universal development areas, like what it takes to what types of planets and formations
Mm,
happen. We're blowing the James Webb is blowing those things out of the water like nearly weekly, monthly. Like, oh, we thought this
yeah.
would happen. Nope. Guess what? We didn't think universe or solar systems or galaxies would appear at this thousandth of year, hundredth of thousandth of year in the beginning, but guess what? They
Yeah.
did. You know. Um,
Yeah, I've been following the earlier stars they've been finding. It's quite wild. Like
yeah.
according to our current calculations, they'll be like 20 billion years old, which doesn't
Mm,
make sense with our current
mm,
models and
mm.
things. Pretty
So
strange.
yeah, at those levels, we're still definitely learning.
Mm,
Um, but it's all interesting stuff.
yeah.
Did I digress? I probably digressed a lot. I do that. I have
It's a
ADHD.
good conversation.
Do you want to stick to consciousness, or do you want to talk about some Buddhist stuff? I'm not extremely versed in Buddhism. I looked up, made sure I knew the name of the type of Buddhism that my wife's
Okay,
family and her culture practice, which is Theravada Buddhism.
I see.
It's one of the oldest forms of documented forms of Buddhism. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah.
So there's three major schools. It's Theravada, Mahayana, and Vajrayana.
Yes.
And
Yes.
they
But
basically just they differ in their end goals, I would say.
mm,
So Theravada is about finding enlightenment for oneself and becoming an arahant.
yes.
Mahayana is about becoming a Buddha yourself
Mm,
and enlightening other people. And I'm not too familiar with what Vajrayana is all about,
mm,
but
mm, mm.
yeah.
I'm not really familiar with any of them. I don't spend a lot of time there. I know some basic things like some of the overarching premises are like reduce suffering.
Yeah.
Um, the kind of no self. Uh,
Yeah. So, okay, let's start with no self. That's a good place to begin. So I would say no self has to be understood in the context of the Hindu religions they were opposing at the time.
mm,
So self was talking about the Atman
mm,
in Vedantic religions. So that's the soul. So Buddhism is denying the existence of an eternal, unchanging soul
mhm,
when they say no self.
mm,
They're not denying the existence of like a being experiencing or a discrete entity known as a self,
mm.
but they are saying such a thing doesn't exist independently. So
Hmm, 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 hmm. Interesting.
non-self is trying to point you towards the realization that beneath your concepts, your name, your job, all those things, there's a kernel of awareness.
Mm,
And that awareness is universal amongst all things that have awareness. And
mm,
that is the non-self.
hmm,
It's like self is the dressing up, the costume that pure awareness is wearing.
hmm, hmm,
So
hmm,
non-self is your true nature, the thing underneath the costume.
hmm, hmm. And now, does this align with your notion that I think you brought up earlier of um, shit. I think I just lost my train of thought there. It's like you're kind of part of your philosophy essentially that um, there's no eternal soul. I don't know. I don't remember where the hell I was going with that.
Yeah. So, okay, I'd say this relies heavily on that concept of shunyata, things not having an independent existence, but things do having a dependent existence.
Mm,
So a very important concept in Buddhism is dependent origination.
mm,
So that
mm,
how things have come to be through a chain of causes and conditions. So things only exist conventionally as long as their causes and conditions are in place.
Mm-mm.
So
Universal consciousness. That's kind of what I was thinking of, like universal consciousness being a thing, since
yeah,
it's a part of itself essentially, or there isn't. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So I would say that that universal consciousness is that pure awareness that the no self is. So
Mm,
there's many names for it. In Vedanta, they call it Brahma. In Buddhism, they call
mm,
it Buddha nature.
mm,
There's there's parallels you can draw in like Islam and Christianity also, like
mm,
into these I don't know
mm,
insights call them. But it's basically that you are not the particulars of your conscious experience. You are the phenomena of consciousness itself.
mm,
And that is what is universal.
mm, Interesting. Hmm, hmm, hmm. Now, did you say you practice Buddhism, or you want to practice, or you're seeking, or you're questioning, or what?
So I'm not a serious practitioner, but I think there's some truths in it, and I do a bit of meditation.
Hmm,
Yeah.
interesting. A big proponent of meditation. Love meditation.
Yes.
I like to break down the meaning of meditation to many people because I've been through much of it, like regimented, routine, structured meditative process versus understanding the mindset or the mind, sort of the flow state that you get in when you're in a meditative state, and
Mm.
being able to achieve that same thing within regular daily
Yes.
events
Like
rather than just practice. Yeah.
invoking flow on demand, I would say is like one of the benefits of meditation.
Yes, absolutely. So that's
Yeah.
I like, because a lot of people will be thrown off at the, well, I don't want to sit down and cross my legs and do Om and all this stuff. I'm like, you don't necessarily have to. you know. Um,
When you said break down the meaning of meditation, what did you mean? 'Cause I'm not too familiar on it, to be honest.
well, I
Could you
think
break it
when
down for me?
when many people hear it, they think the routine, structured, regimented practice, which is like, sit on your knees and center
Mm.
yourself, and or find a focal point, and nothing else exists beyond that. All these kind of regimented practices to help people get into this flow state, if you will. Um,
Yeah.
Hang on,
Yeah.
Casey just asked a question. I was just reading through. Hang on a second. I've been going down a Casey. Oh, you don't want to come up? I invited you up. Y'all have been going down. Oh, no question. Enjoying the combo. Can't contribute. Okay, all right, cool, no problem. So yeah, that's what I meant by meditation. When I think most people have a kind of view with luggage, rather than
Yeah.
understanding that it's just a mind. It's just a mental state. It's a thing you can achieve even within regular. As a matter of fact, some people I think do it without even realizing they're doing it.
Yes,
Um,
definitely.
yeah, yeah,
So there's, you don't even need to sit to meditate. That's just one of the ways. There's
right,
many modes of meditating.
exactly.
Even like playing a sport can be a meditative practice.
Hmm.
There's so many ways of entering a meditative state.
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, when I was young, running was kind of
Mhm.
meditative for me. Absolutely. So was swimming. So activities can be that way. Um, but yeah, but that breaks down a whole lot of like things that then we'd have to kind of talk about, metaphorically speaking, like um, what's your mental state? Is your mind of too many minds? Is your mind busy? Are
Mm.
for me, that's where I would jump into behavioral sciences and sociology and psychology and such. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yet meditation definitely has its limits. There's at some point you may need other interventions if you're having problems. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Like I have some notorious features of some neurodivergence, like rumination. I can ruminate on
Mm.
things, and when I'm ruminating on something, there is no getting my mind to a peaceful state. You know.
Yep.
Um,
There's no telling your mind stop thinking about it.
yeah,
You just think
yeah,
about it more.
yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
granted, meditation and the ability to do that can help, but who knows which came
Yeah.
the cart before the horse. So
So the meditation I practice is Vipassana. Are you familiar with it?
Mm-mm.
So it's called uh, insight meditation.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's basically you're scanning your body for sensations, or you're observing your thoughts without
Mm.
reacting. So it's building up the space between your sensations and your reaction to
Mm.
it. And I think that's one of the major benefits of meditation. Besides the flow states, I would say this contemplative space is a huge
Absolutely.
benefit.
Yeah. Agreed. Agreed. I'm very
Mm,
contemplative when I feel like I'm in that place. Yeah.
mm.
Mm. Mm.
I mean, the world would be such a better place if people could just observe their emotions before they react to
Mm.
them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, take it from a guy who's spent his life trying not to. It's not easy.
It's not. No.
Um, so I try not to blame people for acting emotionally before they do. It's like Casey and I were talking about before. It's in the healing. It's not in, you got to figure out how to move forward. Um, sometimes,
Yeah,
sometimes emotions happen. Um,
but that's not. I don't want to discount the meaningfulness of emotions because I think
oh,
that at
sure,
the end of the
sure.
day, that's the only thing of value, right?
Yeah,
Our
yeah,
values are based off our emotions.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think there's healthy ways to exercise emotions.
Mm,
And I don't think there's anything wrong with them. I think it's a lot of the societal pushback that says you shouldn't cry because you're a dude or whatever. That kind of stuff.
yeah,
You know, if you're in a close group of friends, trusted group of friends, and you feel emotional, you should, do it in a safe environment. It's like doing drugs, man. You can do drugs, just do it in a safe environment so you're not hurting yourself or anybody else, right?
yeah. It doesn't have to be a harmful experience.
uh, uh. Hey, Don, are you around? I have to go to use the bathroom real quick. I'll be right back. Maybe you guys want to talk. Don wants
Yeah,
to ask some questions or something. I don't know. Give me 2 minutes, all right? I'll be right back.
no worries.
And we're back. I'm sorry, man.
Welcome back.
All right. I'm an old man. My body takes over sometimes. I have to suffer its demands,
Ah,
you know.
time.
So you're just out of school. Do you mind, like,
No, I'm quite old. Well, not that old, but not just out of school. I'm 35.
oh, okay, awesome, awesome. Do you work?
I'm
Do you?
a landlord.
Oh, oh, oh. I think we talked about that. That's pretty cool. Awesome, awesome.
Mm.
Mm,
So no, I don't work.
mm, mm. Um. All right. Well. All right. did we cover everything in the Buddhist territory? I'm sorry, I'm not great in that arena. Like, it's
Um,
interesting to me. The best Buddhist, the best kind of area you're gonna find me is in Bruce Lee's interpretations of Tao and Zen Buddhism, and how they
I've
kind of
been
translate. But yeah,
I've really been enjoying Jet Li's speaking about Buddhism. It's been some
mm,
good stuff. I don't know if
interesting.
you've seen that.
I haven't paid attention. Um,
Yeah,
I kind of have I've developed my own philosophy over time. I don't pay attention to big celebrities and stuff much anymore these days.
that's good.
Yeah.
Build your own beliefs.
Well, this is part of that effort, right? I think there is too much beauty, intelligence, creativity, skill that gets unrecognized rather than continue to, prop up these exalted examples. I think that's
Mm,
just part of the bad parts of human behavior. That I did a video on this, actually, this high status seeking behavior. It's probably a lot of other things too, but I think that's a major component in it that is sort of our evolutionary behavior that's been hijacked by modernity, if you will.
yeah.
Um, so that's why I appreciate having you here. I'm proud as a human being that you're willing to step up and express yourself. So
Thank you
um,
for having me.
yeah, I think that's good stuff. Anyways, but we can talk about what he's been saying if you want. What is he? What type of Buddhist is he? What does he practice?
I'm I'm not sure, not too familiar on the particulars, but it's just
Mm-hmm.
nice that a person speaking about these things to a large audience.
Mm.
And
I'd imagine it'd have to become some sort of Tao, Chinese
mm,
Tao Buddhism, Tao Buddhism, maybe with
what
some
about
Zen.
Bruce Lee? What was
Uh,
his?
Bruce Lee kind of mixed his philosophies between Tao and Zen, and then Western philosophy. When he moved to the United States, he studied philosophy, and then he kind of combined everything. This was like the whole notion of Jeet Kune Do is the breaking out of the tradition and the breaking out of the social norms and all that, that
Yeah,
really strict formed stuff, and creating his own thing and thinking and then embracing that as his own philosophy, that adaptation is the way,
yep.
not rigidity, you know. Um, so I
I
think
want to
he combines a
say,
lot of philosophy. Yeah.
yeah, I think that's the right way to go about it
Mm,
because, like, there is no monopoly on truth, and you
mm,
can't say there's a Eastern truth and a Western truth. It doesn't make sense to say there's an Eastern philosophy and a Western philosophy. The truth is going to be like somewhere in between, you know.
mm, Agreed. Well, yeah. Then we have to get into truth, right?
Yeah,
As we talked about a little bit, like what is truth? There
mm,
is, there is no fundamental truth. So I think it's a matter of taking in. For me, it's like taking in all the information and using the best information in everything.
yeah,
I don't want to. I don't want because a particular set of information doesn't abide to my aesthetics or biases doesn't mean I don't want to know it.
yeah,
And even in that, I want to tell myself to accept that maybe I might learn something from it. Like
yeah.
Mormonism, I have no idea what the hell I could learn from Mormonism, but maybe there's something in there. Um,
Is there such a thing as like bad knowledge? Like knowledge you'd be better off not having?
I don't think so. I think knowledge is good. I think in everything, like I always like to say, I think the best things we learn are the things of what not to do, not the things what to do. So,
Mm, true. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
So there is the idea of like information hazards, but
Mm,
not sure
mm,
if that really
mm.
applies.
Well, we have to accept that not everybody can know everything, right? Or not even one person can't know everything.
True.
And even in that, it's like you said very early on, you can never know what I experience. I can never know what you experience. So I know stuff you don't, you know stuff I don't. So as long as we keep
Mm,
ourselves humble with notions like that, I think that's kind of the best way to be.
yeah, agreed.
Yeah. Um, am I killing the conversation here? I tend to do this. I'm sorry,
No,
man. I
no, I'm enjoying it, but
I don't want to hold you back from expressing yourself the way you feel. Um, about
I'm just
things. Are
I'm
you
glad to get your perspective on things also.
are you spiritual? Are you a spiritual person?
Ooh. So that word still makes me cringe from
Okay, that's
from
fair. That's totally fair.
from being a edgy new atheist teenager,
Mm,
growing up with the Richard Dawkins
mm,
type
mm,
vibe, those things. That word makes me cringe deep down. But I have to admit that I guess I am to some
mm.
sense. Like
So yeah,
I do.
maybe break it down with better political correct terms. Like, do you believe in a perpetual soul or existence or something that pervades our experiences here? Yeah.
Think to me the only thing that's sacred is consciousness.
Mm,
And the only thing that said can be said to be meaningful is the quality of conscious experience. And the only thing that can be said to exist is things that exist to consciousness. So a cornerstone of my philosophical view is just the value of consciousness being
mm,
the only thing of value.
mm,
So my spirituality comes to that in the sense that I see every conscious being as an expression of the same fundamental kernel that is synonymous with existence itself.
mm. Sure.
Yeah.
I can't argue that. I mean, I think that just different words would describe that same thing. No different.
Ah, yeah.
I know you took issue with the word physical and everything being physical.
Yeah.
It's kind of useless, but it's kind of saying the same thing that you just said there in different words, right? It's all
True.
part of the physical substrate. It's all bound by the physical properties, and it's a thing that emerges of it, or things that
Yeah.
emerge of it.
Yep.
Um, yeah, I can't argue with that. Just different words. Um,
I would say like the problem I see is potentially this delusion of seeing your phenomenon of consciousness being different from something else's phenomenon of consciousness. It's
mm,
like not recognizing that it's the same phenomena. It's
mm.
like you are the same process, just in a different context.
Yeah, can it be both? Can it be both different and the same?
Can, yeah. So
Yeah.
the context, the particulars are different, but the process is the same.
Mm, mm. Some of it, yeah.
Mm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I can get so assertive. I could get so assertive with that. Yeah, ever changing is the only thing that's not changing, right? That's.
Yeah,
So I don't want to get all
that's a Buddhist classic.
Yeah, I don't want to get all Wittgensteinian on you, but the thing that is the thing itself, and itself is the thing, and um, hmm, interesting.
Yeah.
All right,
So
so
would you
spiritual.
say you have?
Well, not spiritual, but you perpetual self maybe, or perpetual identity. Is it an identity? Is that what it is?
No, it's not an identity.
No.
Unless you identify with pure awareness. But the thing
Mm.
that perpetuates is awareness itself. It's the capacity to having an experience.
So you don't consider yourself to have an identity?
I'd say it's conventional. So this is another big thing in Buddhist thought: conventional versus absolute truths. So conventional things are
Mm.
things that exist sustained by causes and conditions. Let's take money, for example. Does it exist? Not to a rat. Does it exist to a human? Depends on which human you're asking.
Mm.
But those are the causes and conditions that sustain the existence of money.
Mm.
So,
Interesting. Well, you just
so
took it in a
my
whole realm. Yeah.
identity,
Go ahead. Sorry.
my identity, I would say the same logic applies. My identity only exists conventionally as long as these conditions to sustain it exist.
Mm. Mm.
So does it exist in an absolute independent sense? No.
Does anything?
No. That's emptiness.
Right. Right. Exactly. Hmm. Hmm.
I'd say a big part of Buddhist philosophy is trying to get the perspective that the part is integral to the whole. You can't have the whole without the little parts, and the little parts makes up the whole. And like your body and your mind needed the whole universe to be able to exist. Those are the causes and conditions. So in some sense, your body is much bigger than it seems because it required the mechanizations of the entire universe.
So, all right. I guess that's where I break with Buddhism. At least one point. Um,
What's the point?
well, I mean, it's almost like the anti-argument to communism. You know, when people get angry about communism, it's like, well, if we implement communism, it's going to be 1984. The government's going to control everything. There'll be no individualism, and I don't see that there's an individual
Mm,
within the whole, within the group. It's the same thing as neutral monism losing its utility really quickly. Because all of
okay.
a sudden within neutral monism you have all these subdivided parts. And that's not
Yeah.
monistic. That's not singular. So it's there's and of course I think it's all based on context, but a lot of
Yeah.
the context we don't see. So we make very narrow lensed contextual focus points to then draw our other conclusions. Um, So
Yeah.
and like you and me here, man. Look at your profile picture. There's a unique expression of you there, right?
Mm.
Would you
Yeah.
say, or would you particularly try to dress like
So
other people? Um,
there are unique particulars to my existence for sure.
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's that
But
uniqueness that I get. But then I also then very quickly jump into me personally that I am a very communal person. I think I'm here for everybody and everybody's kind of it's a a symbiotic kind of thing. But there is still that self-expression, I guess, where I get lost. Yeah.
I'd say the insights I think that can be gained is that self existing conventionally just means that it's sustained by the surrounding conditions. So it's not like you exist in isolation. Or it's not that we're denying that you exist. We're saying you exist in virtue of X, Y, and Z.
Right.
So
Right.
you're not an independent thing that exists. You
Mm.
exist because of X, Y, and Z.
Sure. Sure.
So in that sense, there's no self. It's saying there's no self without X, Y, and Z. But there is a self if there is X, Y, and Z.
Mm. Gotcha. So there is an individual. There is an individual expression, an individual desire, an individual.
Yes,
Hmm. Hmm.
but conventionally, it can't be said to exist because it's not eternal and independent.
Hmm.
It's not something that will exist if the causes and conditions disappear. So
Hmm.
that's why it is said to not exist.
This might be the line between determinism and a compatibilism, right?
Okay.
Um,
Mm, can you elaborate?
so determinism meaning it's just an execution of a plan,
Mm,
right? So there's no real individual agency, guide, choice,
yeah.
maneuver,
Participation. Yeah.
participation. It's just a plan executing upon itself.
Yeah.
But then there's this human feeling of I'm intervening somehow,
Mm,
right? And that intervention is, well, I see all this and this is consistent and it makes a lot of sense and it's unfalsifiable. And the other thing has significantly less evidence, is also unfalsifiable, but has the burden of proof. Because I feel this, this is the compatibilist. This is like this could be real. This whole
Mm,
agency, this free will, this ability to choose could be real. It
yeah.
feels like that kind of a divide to me right there. Um, and I ride both, you know. But then I think mostly I come down to I just do. I don't choose to do. I just do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this earlier. Does the word choice mean anything to you?
With context, it does,
Okay.
right? Like we had,
So can
yeah.
can
Go ahead.
I choose to drink water?
Can you choose to drink water? Um, Given the right context, yes.
Okay. So what would you say is the right context?
All
Where
right.
where do choices exist and where do they not exist?
All right. Well, so I'm a determinist again.
Mm,
So there's no real choice. It's just a thing executing upon itself. I'm just doing as the previous things executed to make me do, right? But
yeah.
if you accept the notion that there is a choice there, then you're all of a sudden presented with a data set of options in almost every moment,
Mm,
right? This is set theory. This goes into axiom of choice. If
come.
given a set of options, you can choose one of those options basically. And you know, there are
Yeah.
lots of other calculus, of course, to take in why one might choose one option over another. But that's given a free will. That's given an option of choice. So if we're moving forward with the assumption that we have the ability to make a choice, then that's what I default to is yes, we can make choices and we do make choices, you know, and it's just
Yeah.
choices within almost an infinite set of possible choices in any moment. Um,
Yeah. Yeah, I would agree to that. Like we only have choices in virtue of the options we know are available.
yeah, yeah. We view it as we have a choice. Ultimately, it goes against every almost sense in my body, but I don't think we have a choice. I think it's just we're doing.
Yeah.
That's all, you know.
So
Um,
I would say this kind of relates to the conventional versus absolute truths. Like conventionally speaking, we can have choices, but in an absolute sense, we don't.
that makes sense to me.
Mm,
That more, yeah. I don't know if conventional is the word I would use, but
mm,
um, I don't know. Yeah, I guess it's a good enough. It's it would be like a colloquial usage as opposed to a more evidence factual based usage. I don't know. I don't know
yeah,
what words I'm looking for. But yeah, that makes sense. It totally makes sense that given what most humans assume that we make choices.
yeah,
If we make choices, we have a choice. If we don't make choices, we don't have a choice. So it's that simple. It's pretty much that simple for me. Um, and that actually goes into doxastic logic, which is pretty interesting because I've
I'm
heard
not
people.
familiar. No?
Well, I've heard people mention things like in the doxastic involuntarism, which is the notion that we don't we don't choose the things that we believe, right? Our beliefs are things that have been established in us over long periods of time and lots of
Yeah,
information. It falls into
yeah,
that same category for me. I'm like, if we make choices, then we make fucking choices, and we can choose to believe something.
yeah.
Yeah, or if we don't, then no, we don't have any fucking choices. So which one is it?
Yeah.
I'm with the former, but if you want to talk about the next, I'll talk about that too. You tell me. Um,
I'd say it's a very important question in my mind,
mm,
particularly with the justice system, or like how we judge other people.
mm, 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 mm. Yeah, yeah. Judgery. Well, I wish judging would go away. Personally, I think that's an informative kind of concept behind determinism. Is if we didn't have a choice, then we aren't to blame, And,
Yeah.
judgment shouldn't be a thing. Should corrective action be taken? Absolutely 100 fucking percent. Uh,
Yes. Oh,
you
the
know,
mode of action is what's
yeah,
in question.
yeah, yeah. And then again, do we have a
Like,
choice? I don't know. I get
to me, it
lost
makes
in. Yeah.
sense
Sorry, go ahead.
to say we have degrees of freedom of will. Like as you're saying, only in virtue
Mm,
of the options we know. So the options determines the degrees of freedom of our will. Yeah.
mm,
Like you can say a man in a cage has less free will than a man in the open, right? Like I think that's a fair statement.
mm, 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 mm. A man in a cage has the. Well, will doesn't guarantee physical outcome. And look,
No, but it
this is arguing from someone who doesn't believe in it to begin with. So I'm taking the negative stance here, saying if you believe in free will, then just because you have the free will to try and exercise something doesn't mean it's going to be successful, right?
sure, sure, sure.
Yeah, yeah,
But it's about the availability of options. Like the man
yeah.
in the cage has way less options than the man not
Yes,
in the cage.
yes, yes, yes. Still probably infinite options,
Yeah.
but less than infinite, narrower
Different.
than infinite. I don't know, man. Um, that whole thing. All right. So, have you ever heard of the chess analogy?
No, you brought it up earlier, but we didn't talk about
All
it
right.
to the end.
Well, so here's the basic premise is simple, right? 32 pieces, 64 squares. 100% guaranteed finite potential moves and
Yeah.
combinations of games, right? There's no
Mm.
questioning that. It's finite. At this point, it's still incalculable in every scenario.
Yeah.
We're getting closer. We're getting very much closer. Like it's still a race, I think, between
It's
humans and
the
AI.
big number.
Yeah, yeah. Well, so now apply all the particular properties of the execution of the universe.
Mm.
How incalculable is that? Even
Yeah.
even narrow it down. How incalculable is every operation that happens within a human being for a human
Mm.
being to potentially do a particular action in a moment?
Yeah.
Hell, how
Incalculable.
what take a single cell
Mm.
and calculate all the potential interactions in a single cell, maybe given some circumference of interactions of, chemical and whatever properties around it. Calculate that. We can't,
Yeah. Yeah.
right? These things seem magic. So when you think about what the hell our brain is doing within this physical universe, that doesn't mean it's incalculable. It just means we can't calculate it.
Fair, fair. Yeah, I see your point.
So, and it's easy to understand why that might seem magical to us.
Mm.
People say that if we ever attain things like AGI is going to be like a god to us because of its ability of calculation. You think of like an ant compared to us, they can't
Yeah.
they probably can't quantify our conscious awareness.
Yep. You
You know.
can't teach a dog quantum mechanics. So what is
Yeah.
it that humans can't learn?
Hmm. On the other hand, my buddy Robert Sapolsky, if I want to play some Jeet Kune Show bingo, he's been known to say that yes, there are nuances here, but given all those nuances aside, if you give a chimpanzee as many neurons as a human, they're the ones that would be flying to outer space and going to the moon and Mars and stuff,
Mm.
inventing computers. So, yeah, it's
There's
all
actually,
muddy waters for me, man.
speaking about other animals' intelligences, there's actually brain architectures out there that are way more efficient than humans,
Sure,
like
sure.
bird brains.
Hmm.
Like the potency per like square millimeter you get from bird brains is way stronger than human.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and then again, one of the biggest things that we would attribute our advances to is tool usage and tool create, imagination to create and manipulate our environment. And it's a lot of properties that happened through evolution that gave that: fingers, arms, upright, walking onto appendages. All these combinations come together to why we are the most advanced species on the universe, even if, or on the planet, even if we have necessarily less complicated brain structures than other creatures on the planet. We've proven size doesn't really matter. It matters, but it doesn't, you know? It's a matter of
It's not.
size, complexity, interaction, all that stuff. Yeah. And body features for that matter. So
Yeah.
it's all that
It's the
stuff.
transmission of experience beyond your lifetime. That's
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
human source.
Mm. You know, I'm not convinced that other creatures on this planet don't do that. I don't know if they have the ability to kind of perpetuate. Like, do they write? Writing was a huge advancement for us.
Yeah.
I
There
mean,
definitely are other animals that have like cultural knowledge that they transmit. Like
yeah,
orangutans, for example, it takes like 14 years of caretaking for a
absolutely.
orangutan to become
Yeah.
self-sustaining.
I think writing was a huge advancement for the species, you know.
Mm.
Um, yeah, a next level of object representation, symbol, sound, object representation beyond oral tradition. I mean, we have oral traditions that go, I think now the oldest are like 60,000 years old.
Jeez.
Um, and, you know, these are marked and measured by people who study geology and shit with like, they have historical references of geological events that they can track that happened 60,000 years ago that are
Yeah.
in their
Yeah.
oral, you know, their oral notation. So, yeah, that whole thing is crazy and complicated. Um, Wish I knew about
Yeah.
it.
Who knows how long that was going on? Just oral transmission, and things
Yeah.
just exploded with writing.
Yeah. It's crazy stuff, man.
Yeah.
Um,
We in the middle of the next explosion,
we are. It's called.
intelligence
I call
explosion.
it the Plasticine era. We're
Plasticine.
Yeah, we're shrink wrapping the Earth in plastic so we can preserve ourselves for freshness for the future. Um,
Nice. I'd like to come back in the future. That sounds nice.
well, all right. Here you go. Speaking of consciousness, let me. One of my brain flights that I have. One of my sort of thought experiments that one of my own personal justifications of which I realize is nonsense because there's no backing for it. But I think to myself, why do I remember what I'm remembering now? This is part of the qualia, right? Why do I feel special?
Mm,
Why am I remembering what I'm remembering now? If I'm just gonna live, die, and have my life, what's the significance? What's the purpose of me actually
mm,
realizing I'm here in this moment? And one of those things I think about, I'm like, well, all right, again, given what we talked about earlier today, like consciousness kind of being pervasive, just looked at different scales and events and
yeah.
properties and such, right? Possibly being fundamental to the universe. If future advanced civilizations could have an algorithm or something that could revive previous consciousness. That's why I would
Hey,
remember because in the future I
hey.
might pick up where I left off, you know, and it might
That
be
makes sense.
significant. So, um, I
Yeah, I really like the Nick Bostrom simulation arguments about
mm,
ancestor simulators, right?
hmm
Like that's what could be happening, right?
possibly. I mean, it could all be an illusion, a hallucination. Could be
Yeah,
it could be a hologram.
yeah.
You know what? I find
That,
when I start asking a lot of could be's, though, I should probably be asking me, you know, asking myself, should I be here? Or is this just fun? Have I been smoking too much, you know? Um,
yeah, yeah, true. I was gonna say what stands out from the simulation hypothesis though is some like mathematical backing, like the thought experiment that future civilizations could simulate. So what is the probability that this is a simulation?
mm, mm, mm.
Has some merit to it.
Yeah, who else talks about? Not Lane. One of the other guys he talks about this in one of the interviews, and he's like, if there were civilizations that could achieve the technology of being able to replicate, you know, another consciousness or another, you know, if we're living in a simulation, then
Mm.
by the nature of, I think, thermodynamics, we'd be living in like the lowest resolution simulation possible, because it seems, at least so far, and even in the future, we're not going to be able to fully replicate a
Yeah.
simulation in order to fool a human.
Yep.
Um,
You would need just as much bits as information as the thing you're replicating, and
yeah,
then you're just
yeah.
recreating it.
You'd eventually hit a bottomless pit. But that makes a lot of
Yeah.
assumptions too. That every universe that exists has the same physical laws, if you will.
Mm.
You know, um, that's not proven to be consistent because we only have a measuring, a measurement of one so far.
One. Yeah.
Um, all that is speculation, in my opinion.
Yeah. Yeah. So speculations become like possible answers just to fill in gaps. Like why does our universe have these constants and things? And the speculation is the multiverse, for
Mm,
example.
mm, 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 mm. Yeah. Again, possible. Could
Possible,
be.
yeah.
Could
So
be.
that, that's all these could be's and possibilities gives us is comfort in the unknowns.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember that you're a Pangburnian. You're a fellow Pangburnian. I remember
Yeah.
being on there talking to some just completely dissociated people, is what it seemed to be. Where they're like, well,
Mm.
it doesn't matter. My mind controls what the reality is, and I'm always like, well, what happens when the fist is coming at your face? You know, does it hurt? Do you get out of the way? If you try to get out of the way, or you try to defend yourself, or you just, I mean, you're obviously defending from something.
Mm.
There's a moment in time where pragmatism, uh,
Yep.
and I'd say it's more often than we give credence to. You know, a lot of this stuff we take
Yeah.
for granted in our reality. So, um,
Yeah. A lot of what's actually important goes under the radar, and we just talk about distractions.
mm, 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 mm. Interesting.
So coming back to spirituality, would you say you have a sense of spirituality?
Mm, mm, mm. Me, no.
Not at all.
So, to be fair, when I was younger, I probably questioned a lot of things. I never came to a definite. The younger I went, early adolescence, I just had so many
Mm.
unanswered questions. Who knew? I just, went along with things. And when some people say God or whatever, there was no. But yeah, I wasn't really raised in a strict religious environment. And so I wasn't like told that these things were absolutely true.
Mm.
Um, but and then even for a long time, these were just unanswered questions for me. It just didn't matter,
Yeah.
right? It did for that.
It's
I
like in
think,
the peripheral.
yeah, for the most of my life, it's like, again, it comes back to that pragmatism. It's like, well, does God exist, or do I have to fucking work today at 6 o'clock and I'm late already? And I, it just didn't
Yeah.
didn't matter because I was just going through the exercise. Now that I have more free time, more leisure time to think about a lot of these things and try to put sense to them. I don't think I've ever really believed in a God or any kind of perpetual spirit. And even more
Yeah.
today now, like, good Lord, I'm known to say, if I die and I wake up somewhere else remembering what happened here, please just kill me or something. I don't know. I don't want to do this again. I don't want to remember
Yeah.
this shit. So, so yeah, no, I would say no. I'm not spiritual at all, personally. I don't want to take that from people. I can't say
Yeah.
absolutely that there's nothing. My wife is spiritual. She's sort of deconstructing Buddhist, if you would say, not purposefully
Okay.
deconstructing, but I think just, being with me, and this sort of the never really full committal into Buddhism, more like her parents were and stuff.
Yeah.
She's kind of armchair, and we usually go to temple for the food, if anything else, not anything else. So
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't want to take that from people. I don't think there's anything disproving it. Again, it's in one of those ignost areas. It's like I don't need to know the answers to those questions, even if they are true mathematically, multidimensionally, whatever.
Mm.
They don't matter in my pragmatic life. They're fun to think about, fun to talk about. That's kind of where I sit. So, uh,
Yeah.
mm,
I do think though that we are approaching a time where it will be more relevant to people's lives.
mm,
If
mm,
the
mm.
age of abundance is to arrive, I think people will have a lot more free time to think about what are they doing. Yeah.
Interesting. Now, you think spirituality will increase?
Ah, I do think so.
Interesting. Yeah.
Or at least maybe not spirituality as we've known it. Maybe not your granddad's spirituality, but something else, you know.
Mm, 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 mm. Well, that's a definitely an interesting take because if you consider what the world is doing today, advancement, it seems like people are slowly losing religion and slowly losing their spirituality and turning more atheist. But then again, is what the world is doing today good? I don't. Given leisure time and equality and yeah, I think to have
Yeah.
leisure, I think to have leisure time, you'd have to have some better measure of equality and equity.
Mm.
For that to be a global phenomenon, if you will. Um,
I want to say I don't think being atheist and being spiritual are in conflict. Like I
mm,
think you can
mm.
be both.
Sure,
Like I
sure.
think
Yeah, yeah.
you can have a sense of what is valuable or sacred or however you want to phrase it, and still not believe in a god.
Fair enough. I'll give you that. I think there are probably people could come up with mathematical explanations for, or even physical, or even philosophical notions of why there might be a perpetual identity or soul or so.
Mm.
Yeah, that's fair enough.
Mind at large or whatever.
Yeah, or yeah, I look again, panpsychism maybe. Um, universal consciousness, fundamental consciousness maybe. Again,
Mm.
multiple universes. I think mathematically we can prove it out in a couple ways. Different understandings of time, A time theory, B time theory. Sure,
Mm.
these are all possibilities. So, yeah, agreed. I'm sorry. I guess long way to say I agree with you. Maybe I was just being narrowed in my speech and associating just spirituality with theism. That's probably
Mm.
a conflation. I would agree.
Oh, it's a typical generalization, I'd say.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a trap. It's a trap. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I was just thinking of myself because I would consider myself an atheist that's spiritual.
Mm, mm.
Mm.
Yeah, totally fair. Totally fair. What is that? I mean, so I guess does that make you how does that benefit you? Is it just, what are the benefits you get from it to consider spirituality?
So I've always had this pressing question of what is the right thing to do? What
Mm,
should I be doing?
mm,
And having this cornerstone that consciousness is sacred or the only thing of value gives me a direction of how I want to act in the world.
mm, mm,
Like
mm.
that that is the cornerstone of how I should answer what is the right thing to do.
Interesting. Because you feel there's a right way to do things?
Yeah, I feel like we take actions in the world and there are preferable actions and unpreferable actions, and I want to take the most preferable action and how do I inform that action?
Mm,
And I think taking consciousness to be the only thing of value is how to inform how to act in the world.
interesting. Now, is that because you feel like other consciousnesses need to be preserved or given some form of dignity or respect or
Yeah, I'd say respect, because essentially the way I see it, it's you in another body, so it's
mm,
self-respect.
mm, mm, interesting. Well, I often say as long as we come to the same conclusions, I don't really care how we got there. I'm kind of with
Yeah,
you, like,
that's fair.
in that notion. Um,
Mm,
I tend to look at it maybe more rudimentarily, right? I'm a awareness that emerged, and I have empathy and sympathy and caring for others, and like then it comes down to like I know what it's like to be hit and cut and burned, and because I feel those things and I feel that pain, or I feel the pain of being
mm,
bullied or whatever, because that hurts. I realize I don't want to do that to other people.
yeah. So
That's
we've both arrived at the
yeah,
golden rule to two different parts.
sure, yes, yes, yeah, interesting. All right, well that's fair. I mean, I can't. Well, I wouldn't do that anyway, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. We're just doing. We're just doing.
So,
It's so hard to escape language sometimes.
it's coming back to what I gain from a spiritual lens.
Mm, mm,
So let's say for the longest time, I tried to answer normative things by looking to science, which is just a huge mistake.
mm,
You can't. Well, okay, I know you differ on this opinion, but in my mind, you can't get objective truths of how to act
hmm.
ethically from looking at science. It is something that is based on subjectivity and perspective.
Interesting.
So yeah, it's just for the longest time I felt like I was discounting that conscious experience is the center of value, and trying to look at science to understand what we should do won't give you that answer. You just have to look at experience itself.
Hmm, hmm, hmm. So,
I think Casey has something to add.
oh well, come on up, Casey. You can invite hang on. So yeah, let me go with that for a second. You're always helpful.
Out.
If nothing else, you might give me a break so I can go pee again.
Well, I'm curious about your take on this too. Um,
Well, I
so
can
I'll
listen.
just
I'll
start off with
listen
saying
in. So
hi.
go ahead. I'll listen while
Oh,
while
okay.
you talk.
Okay. So my brain is still breaking around this, but like I've been going down this rabbit hole trying to understand the difference between different mathematical systems versus these philosophical differences that we're talking about. And my understanding is kind of getting to this point that with mathematical systems, you're operating based on different rule sets, right? So the straight lines, I think, kind of behave differently based on if you're going from like the North Pole to the core of the Earth, you'll have this straight line. But then, what is that?
So,
Euclidean?
Euclidean versus non-Euclidean geometry.
Yeah, yeah. Elliptic, I think, is this other one where the straight lines are going off of a curve, um,
Yeah,
which is still
like
confusing to me.
you could draw a triangle on the Earth with curved lines. It's like that's
Right.
non-Euclidean
Yeah.
geometry. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are operating off different rule sets. Whereas what we're talking about here, we still have the same rule set as far as the logic that we're using, if A, then B. And we're still operating off of like we have these processes of like the consciousness is there and it requires having a universe, right?
Mm.
But the difference being more so, from what I'm understanding, is that with like a physicalist approach, that is an emergent property, whereas with an idealism or cosmopsychism, I think is another. Um,
Panpsychism, maybe? Cosmo? I don't-
no, Yeah, ChatGPT threw that other one, cosmopsychism, which is a new one for me, and I'm
Okay.
not quite familiar. But they're different, like explanatory, coherent systems that, depending on your assumptions, like whether or not you assume that your consciousness emerges from these properties, or if the consciousness is already there because the universe has a fundamental consciousness.
Mm.
Does that all follow? Make sense?
They become like their own self-sustaining systems. Like based on these assumptions, it makes sense.
Yeah, in a way. I was getting kind of confused about like because with the second assumption, there's still the same premises, and I'm still kind of confused about how it doesn't then. I, it's kind of like the idealism is trying to bridge this gap that we don't necessarily have answers for in physicalism, I think. Like we're still working on understanding what is this consciousness, in the sense of like we can define it based on what our awareness is. But I kind of heard you hint towards this earlier, that like there's different levels, I guess, of the consciousness. And with physicalism, you would say that, yeah, there are subconscious or unconscious processes that can occur. But I guess I'm curious about y'all's take around just any or all of that. And I'll shut up for a bit.
Go ahead, Phalanx.
Yeah.
I'll let you do some talking. I've done too much today.
So I'd say with the consciousness is having like different scales to it. I'd say so there's unconscious processing going on in your mind at the moment. Like things that aren't in your awareness. And that's an example of a conscious processing that's below you that you're not aware of. So we at least have one example of consciousness being integrated into a system where the parts below are not aware of the parts above. So the assumption is, could our experiences be integrated in such a way into like a human at large kind of mind, like a hive mind type thing? A mind above all human minds? I don't know. Interesting speculation. And I also want to say, you're right that idealism is trying to address something physicalism can't answer. And it comes back to what we were talking about earlier, where like speculations are just there to try and fill holes in the unknowns. So yeah, idealism is a speculation. But you could say physicalism is also, in a sense, like it is a theory of matter and what matter is.
Yeah, it just, from what I'm understanding, yeah, that fundamental starting assumption would differ, like you just said, with like the possibility of more of a collective conscious that I think physicalism has some ideas around that. But I think that it's almost like a leap to me of like starting with that assumption that they're,
Yep.
yeah. And that's where I really struggle to make that leap, because like it's not like we have an evidence for it. So it
Yeah.
wouldn't, yeah, fundamentally you're taking like, you're starting without the scientific kind of like
I would agree that
commitment, but still kind of working it in. Yeah.
it is a speculative leap for sure. But I would say that physicalism makes the same leap. It's just not as prominent or as well hidden. It's like you're speaking about assumptions, but there's also assumptions in the physicalism framework, correct?
Right.
So it's like,
Yeah, we have to start somewhere.
yeah. So the
Some would
basic
say
of
no,
it is
but I would agree. Yeah.
idealism makes the assumption that consciousness is fundamental. Physicalism makes the assumption that physical substance is fundamental. But there's no real good reason to believe either or, like based off evidence.
Mm.
That's in my anti-realism. Uh, I guess I move in stages, right? I'm an
Mm.
anti-realist up until the point where we have to make an assertion. And then I make the
Yeah.
most pragmatic assertion at that moment. For me, it's nihilism. It's the acceptance that there is no foundation, that we have to start somewhere, um, and
Well,
build
there's
from
not a
that.
universal.
What's that?
Yeah. Is it kind of like saying there's no universal?
Well, there's no basis. No matter there's no basis for any starting point. Everything we do is, and I think Phalanx was getting at this way earlier on in the conversation, at a sort of a focal point, and then a vector or a spectrum from there on out, and it's kind of detection from that point on. So there is no like established true epistemology. You
Mm.
know, it's just a starting point. It's where we choose. Um,
Yeah. It's your prior assumption. So yeah,
yeah.
I'm sure you're aware of a Bayesian inference. Like you have priors. Like you're gonna have to have a prior to make
Yes.
an inference.
Hmm. Probably many. I think that's Gettier. You can sure look more selective attention at priors, but yeah, there's probably infinite potential priors.
Yeah.
Um,
So what are your thoughts on the tabula rasa experiment or thought experiment that we born into the world as blank slates without priors?
I don't buy that either, because
It made sense to me.
where does the slate start? You know, it
Yeah.
it kind of blends into the stuff that happened previous.
It also goes in the face of like genetics, right? Like genetics is what dictates the capacity for your experience.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
you can't be a blank slate. It's defined by your genetics.
So although I heard my physicalism being slandered a bit there, I am a physicalist. So so yes, it is an assumption. Um, so so yeah, all that would make sense. That we see the stages. We see the stages of there was some hot dense state early on in the universe. Beyond that hot dense state, things started expanding. When they expanded into things condensed into helium and hydrogen and a little bit of lithium, and then your protostars formed, and blah 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 blah, all the way up until the point where the universe is manufacturing the components for life, and life started on this planet many times over,
Yeah.
many different ways over, and succeeded at least in one path, if not many. You know.
Yep.
So
Yeah, I'd say some major holes in the physicalist framework is like, why was there low entropy at the start of the universe? Like, sure, you can explain things in terms of thermodynamics and entropy, but you can't answer why was there a low entropy in the past.
I think there are stabs at it.
Mm, for sure,
Like
yeah.
some of them are a little bit more hooey, and some of them are a little bit more rational. I think the difference between hooey and rational is hooey says more, this is like what it is, and rational
Mm,
kind of says, well, this makes sense with the math. It could make
mm,
sense. Being that there is some sort of what you would call shit. What's the word I'm looking for? You know, fuck thermodynamics. There's a there is a fluctuation of thermodynamics within the given super universe. I don't know what it, because once it's beyond our own bubble of thermodynamics, it becomes then, is it still the universe? If it's
His own
if it's
universe?
beyond entropy and then beyond, I mean, it looks, everything kind of boils down to undulations of energy and thermodynamics. We're caught in a
Oh, I have a
bubble of
question.
thermodynamics in which we can't escape, but we can't say that there wouldn't be other bubbles of thermodynamics outside of that. We also don't know there is. So,
Mm,
um,
Yeah, I was about to, because my question around that concept, like, if we don't have the answer right now, why then put forward speculation without some kind of an evidence? Like, I think that we have the capability to find evidence in the future. So we can, we can make an assumption about it now and kind of plant our flag down on something based on, if the universe was conscious, then I guess the systems would behave differently based on what stage of consciousness that the universe is in. Is that, I don't want to like slander the idealism either. Like, and I'm not going to claim that I can represent physicalism fairly by any means either.
Well, I don't know, Phalanx, do you have an answer there?
I was going to say something about assumptions.
Right. I don't know. So let me see if I gather what Casey is saying. Like, why place your flag in physicalism? Is that what you're saying? Kind of?
Okay,
No,
I
opposite.
get him at
Opposite.
Oh, the opposite.
So
why place your
why
flag in idealism?
speculate?
Okay, gotcha.
I got an answer.
Yeah,
So
why
why
put
speculate?
forward? Yeah, why put forward any kind of speculation when
So
there's not a fundamental like explanation based on
Evidence, yeah.
evidence yet?
Yeah.
at the start, we were talking about frameworks being informed by assumptions. So when you adopt these new assumptions, you're working with a new framework to inform like new research agendas, I would say. Like you're informing your assumptions to know what to look for. So I'd say speculating can plant your flag with some assumptions to potentially gain a new, more informative perspective.
I really struggle with that. I mean, that's where I was kind of like, my brain
It's
is
like,
still breaking around like the concept of like there are reasons that we use different mathematical systems to help to make calculations on like, well, I don't want to like misrepresent all of that stuff either, but like, because I don't see a difference in terms of like you had mentioned earlier that we are still observing the same phenomenon, like that there is this aspect of like self-awareness, but yeah, the assumption on where it came from differs. And like I can understand kind of where you're coming from. It's just hard for me to see then why you wouldn't be able to use physicalism to approach answers in a way that would be explaining basically never mind. I'm so
I'm not anti-physicalist at all. I just I don't like the label or the category because I find it pretty useless. It's like if everything is physical, what is it in different to?
Can I tell you my first experience with determinism and physicalism? It's hysterical. Like way back, like I was telling you about in my life, when it didn't really fucking matter what I thought, because it was just like work and do the computer programming so I can make money, so my family can prosper. Who cares? Well, I started learning about determinism, and then like watching through Reddit and stuff, you'd see all these threads about people talking about certain topics, and then somebody would comment and you'd be like, oh God, here comes the determinists now. Here they are, Jesus Christ. So I find that hysterical that another example, the Philosophy Cafe, when they're like no nihilism. That one of their house rules is in Philosophy Cafe, one of their house rules is no nihilism.
Oh.
I mean,
that's like the go-to.
Yeah,
that's the bread and butter.
So I mean, look, I'm with you in the sense that we don't have any. Well, I don't know if I'm. Actually, this is a good question because I don't know if I'm with you, but I think I'm with you that we don't have any absolute truths. There's nothing we've ever proven. Do you think there are mind independent things?
Nope. As I
Right.
say, I think mind is fundamental. So
Right, exactly. So I thought so. I don't want to make assumptions about you.
mm,
So, and obviously, if we don't have mind independence, we don't have stance independent interpretation.
nah,
Everything is through our own stance.
yeah,
Um,
there's no view from nowhere. Like true objectivity doesn't exist. You're always
right,
going to have to take a stand.
right. And then, some forms of spiritualism totally make sense when you look at it mathematically. That I even think about that, that again,
Mm,
like we were just talking about, if space time is merely just this fabric of undulating thermodynamics and we're in a bubble and there could be infinite other bubbles of various proportions and physical dynamics within them, that
yeah,
means there's probably infinite universes.
yeah.
And that
I,
means
I,
there's possibly infinite incarnations of everything that I've ever done or could do. And then this is just one potential experience of those things. Um, you know,
Remind me later to link you with someone who does the mathematics of non-duality.
mm,
It's very interesting stuff.
mm. I'd probably, well, I don't want to say I'd like it or dislike it, but I'm as a non-dualist. That's interesting. But I don't do much math these days. I'm way past those days. I like the implications of math, not the execution of it. If you, I don't get into that complicated shit.
Yeah, I still
Oh,
love
show me a
maths.
comedy,
Not
right?
much.
Yeah. Do you
Do you know
still?
him?
No, I don't. I was just noticing your comment. Who is this person?
Yeah, that guy. So he does the. I think he's a neuroscientist.
Mm,
He does the mathematics of awareness and non-duality.
mm. Interesting. Well, I'll check him out. Definitely into academia. Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
And
I
if you follow Sam Harris, he's been on Sam Harris's podcast a few times.
Oh man. So Sam Harris, like brilliant guy. I think I saw
But
some things early in his career that were red flags to me, and I think they're emerging their ugly heads today more prevalently.
okay,
Um,
such as
I don't know if I could articulate them, but his stance on the Muslim religion and Israel,
mm,
and not only that, but he's taken some other, like he's had some other really kind of hot takes in the past. Like for instance, this is always one when all right, so you think about the plight of the the African Americans that were, or the Africans that were involved in the transatlantic slave trade. Um, you
yeah,
know, and there's where they sit today, for instance, and then he brings up this judgment of, well, Chinese immigrants from less means come into this country and make it,
mm,
right? Why don't the African Americans do the same thing? And this to me is a very narrow lensed perspective. Hey, Detroit Atheist Queen, awesome, thanks for joining. So these are just red flags that set me off about him in the
yeah.
past, and
I
and
know he had a
now
bit of a
today,
debacle.
yeah, he's a really smart dude, but I think he's not without his flaws. So yeah,
Yep. Yeah, I mean, who isn't, right?
sure, absolutely. I just wish they weren't so overt and controversial, and like, I'm sorry, but a lot of it is on the side of probably just perpetuating a lot of hate and violence and war and things like that. So I just don't see it the same way. I get it. I, I
Yeah.
just, yeah,
Uh,
I don't know. Look, I think you can extrapolate a lot of intelligent things that he's said as good words of wisdom without knowing that it came from him necessarily.
yeah. Yeah, I want to bring up the
you
points.
know?
Like, shouldn't you be separating the art from the artist?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely we should. Absolutely, we should. I think, like, kind of like my stance on AI. I don't think AI is bad. I think how humans use it is bad.
Mm.
Um, you know.
And I have a quick synopsis.
Oh, sure. Well, today we were talking about consciousness and Buddhism, but we've gone all over, and we were just on Sam Harris. Um, and like not meeting your heroes because every human is flawed and has their problems, and not revere. This actually goes back to what I was talking about earlier, Phalanx, about revering people
Mm.
and setting them, the high status seeking stuff. It's like I'd rather,
Yeah.
I find brilliance in the things that you say. I don't know why that's any different than I would find the brilliance in people, like celebrities or
Yeah.
high status individuals. So, and I think humans are really bad at that. So maybe I'm trying to set an opposite precedent. Just like
Yeah.
Kelly here, I think Kelly is a brilliant person as well, has a lot of important things to say.
Oh, I appreciate that.
So,
But when it comes to like the sense of, I agree, but I disagree with the celebrity thing because when you see somebody has a flaw, that means they're relatable.
mm,
Certain flaws, yeah, I got it,
yeah, yeah.
but
Everybody's
they I mean
flawed.
they're
Yeah,
human. Like man, this
yeah.
even though that's what I look at it in that sense of that person.
Mm,
Like man, like oh they struggled and lived in poverty for years. And they built themselves up, blah blah
mm,
blah.
mm,
It's more relatable to
mm,
me.
mm, mm, mm,
Yeah.
When somebody did a horrific crime or something, that's a whole nother level. Or if you meet them and they're rude to you, that's total different too.
mm, mm, mm,
If we did meet someone perfect, we'd probably hate him for being so perfect.
mm.
That's my point exactly.
That's hysterical. Casey's pointing out that I have this mannerism about me. Um,
Mm-mm.
I won't say any names, but it's somebody in the atheist community, and I love his content. I still watch his shows and everything, but I've had two interacts with him in person, and he didn't seem impersonable to me. Everybody sees a nice guy, but he walked past me twice, and I was with a group of people and didn't say anything, and everybody else did. So I was like, nasty taste in my mouth. But I won't say no names because everybody knows who it is.
I'm sorry. Was
But
this at a recent event or something, or?
last year,
Oh, oh.
it was last year, but it was a couple of events that I saw him at, two or three events, and I'm hanging around the other creators and stuff like that.
Mm,
And so usually when I'm talking to, let's say I'm gonna make up some names. I'm talking to John Gleason or something like that, and then somebody else will walk up to us and they'll say hi. Who are you?
mm.
He did not. That was just how I felt.
Status
I was like,
folly.
yeah,
Yeah, status folly, or
because
yeah.
if I'm coming to somebody and even I know the person out of politeness, I'm gonna speak
Mm,
because I'm coming into their conversation.
mm,
I don't know.
mm.
That's just me thinking out loud.
Well, it's relevant. I mean, this is a lot of the status behavior that I kind of I try to recognize and I try to act in opposition to. Um, you know, anyway, hey, let me pause here for a moment though. It is now 4:52 here, so it's what,
Gee.
almost 10 o'clock there now. Um,
Yeah.
it's been a day. It's been 2 hours already. Are you? I've got to probably go soon because my family and I have some activities we're getting ready to do. Um, but I wanted to wrap this back around to you, Phalanx, and say, is there anything else you wanted to say or talk about? And this is an open conversation for me. If you want to do more, I'm willing. I'm willing to just continue to have conversations. So, um,
Yeah, no, it's been a great conversation. Thanks for having me. I don't really have anything I want to end on.
mm,
Probably do this again. It was really fun.
absolutely, Let's do it
Yeah.
more. That's what I'm trying to promote. I'm just trying to promote more conversations. So let's keep it going. Kelly,
Yeah.
thank you for joining in late or joining in. I'm sorry that we're getting ready to
Yeah, I
go.
just happened to look and see. I was like, what is he talking about today?
Well, I
I hadn't been
appreciate
on
you.
Discord too much earlier.
I really appreciate you dropping in. And Casey, thank you so much as usual.
Yeah,
Yeah.
been a very great conversation. I'm gonna probably hop over and listen in on Robin's show here
Awesome.
next.
I wish I could, but we're getting ready to go out for a walk.
Yeah.
So
Mm,
Is this going to be
yeah.
recorded in place too?
I don't. Yeah. Anyways, hey, thank you, Phalanx. I'm gonna stop recording here and let's
Thank
do it
you.
again.
Thank you.
All right, brother. Take care.
Yeah. You too.